So you guys obviously play ASU this week. Last year, both those games were really grinded out, low-scoring games. I know they have a lot of new players. So what are you expecting this time around?
Um, you know, they're different. I think we're expecting a completely different style. They've changed a lot of what they do. They're running more back cuts and more chin action, more Princeton sets. So it's completely different. But the constant thing we know is that they're really aggressive defensively. They're really going to look to run and get up and down and capitalize off of our mistakes. And it's our rival game, so it's going to be very, very competitive. So excited about those pieces.
And I know ASU is always a very physical team. So how does it help to have somebody like Trinity in this year's matchup?
It helps a lot. I think the balance for us is we're both very physical because who's going to stay out of foul trouble? Who's going to play defense positionally, and who's gonna control like the tempo of the game. I think we didn't do a good job of that. We fouled way too much, and I think a sign that your defense isn't great at the time is fouling, because great defensive teams don't foul a lot. So we're getting better this week, and you will see us improve from last week, and just the way we play defense, rotation, and those things. You'll see a more improved defense because it has not been good at all.
PJ, go ahead.
Sure. What's it like to have a rivalry game like this so early in the season and like such a quick turnaround? I mean, for both teams, it's just, it's basically 3 days of practice and you're back out there again, which would be normal in any other Pac-12 situation, but usually rivalry games, you have a little more time to prepare.
Yeah, I think it's just different. All these games are so much different because they're so much earlier, so they're just a lot harder. I think that the new people don't really understand the rival. They don't understand what it's like, but I think they're going to learn fast. I think everybody in the country is kind of in the same boat. Not everybody, not like the SEC, but like in the Pac-12 or on the West Coast, we all have not played or practiced a lot. And I think that you're starting to see that around the country with all these major upsets. And we saw it yesterday in the Pac-12 with Utah beating Oregon State at Oregon State. So I think that it's just kind of the nature of starting such a competitive conference so early. For Charlie and I, this is early to play. We usually don't play till the end of December. So for both of us, I think it's a disadvantage. We both have new pieces. So I think whoever is going to execute the most and I think defend the best is going to win the game. And we're both two good defensive teams. And so it's going to be a battle.
And do you think it's a little hard that everything seems to be magnified today?
What do you mean?
Magnified in that because Pac-12 started early, because we have the pandemic, everything seems rushed, and everything that we look at for everybody, whether it's you guys, whether it's somebody else in the conference, it seems bigger, right? Everything seems bigger maybe than it would be.
No, I think I understand what you mean just because of the situation. But I think a lot of us are in the same situation. So we've only had a couple games. We're all kind of in the same boat. I think bigger in the sense that, if you look at Louisville and Ohio State and LSU, I mean, they've been practicing all summer. So I think we have a big disadvantage. And I think the way we look is not going to be as polished. So I think you're going to see Pac-12 teams look better in January, February because of just the time. And it takes time to get the chemistry. So I think that it's magnified in that sense because we probably look like we're not playing good basketball. But I think it is what it is. At least we're playing. And who knows what's going to happen? Who knows if we'll stay with this model, if we'll change models. There's so much stuff up in the air. But I think for us, the main thing is we want to be able to play. But for me as a coach, it's hard when I go look, around the country and people have 3,000-4,000 fans. Like we don't have any, we don't have family. So it's just that's what's hard about it. Because I really believe long-term, it's a big disadvantage. Because if you have the Louisvilles, the South Carolinas, the Arkansas, and they have thousands of people at games, they're not feeling that different. But then we don't have that the whole year. We may have that later in tournament. I think it's a disadvantage for us. But it's kind of like that's not something we can control.
Go ahead, Rich.
Morning, Coach. Let me follow up on the rivalry because it is Arizona State week for football. You're playing as well. What does this rivalry mean to you personally, and how do you explain that to newcomers and some of the kids you have on the team that come from a foreign country?
Well, the kids that come up from a foreign country, they pretty much know, except for the two newbies. You don't really, well, no, I can explain it because in soccer, there's bigger rivalries because this is nothing. So if you go to Turkey and you do Fenerbahce against Galatasaray, it puts this rivalry to shame. It's not even comparable. Like if you grew up in the city where Fenerbahce is, you have like no choice, and you are like livid. You have the flag of the city. It's on a different level. It's kind of like how you'd have the American flag here. Well, you'd have that club that city's flag. It's crazy. In Turkey, I had never seen anything like that. Italy, maybe they're a little crazy, but Turkey, it was like you're from that town, you like bleed it. So I think they'll understand that when I put it in that sense. Um, it,
What
it
does it
is
mean
a
to
big
you?
huh? It
What
means
does
a lot to
the
me.
Arizona State game mean to you?
It means a lot to me because when I was a player, I never once lost to ASU. It was kind of like things were reversed. So when I was a player, we were good, they weren't. When I got here, they were good, we weren't. And I remember like I had a lot of conversations with Charlie, and a lot of our conversations were that, one like we need to be good. Like they wanted us to be good as their travel partner. And so now we are good. So I think I think we got better faster. So now I don't have to hear it anymore. That Arizona needs to be good, so which is a good thing. Um, but I think we are good. And now I think for us, we're doing really good. We're recruiting well in the state. I think we're doing better than everybody anticipated. And I think it's just funny when I look back. It's like when you're not good, everybody wants to help you, and everybody like pats you on the shoulder and says, "Oh, if you need anything, call me." And then when you get good, like it doesn't happen. Then it's like it becomes other things. It becomes like, "Oh, did you say something bad about me in recruiting?" Or it just becomes a whole different thing, which I don't entertain because I don't really care. But it's just really interesting. So we are good, and I think that we're doing some good things here. And for me, I do want Arizona State to also be successful because I want people to have to prepare. I want them to come to the state of Arizona, and at ASU, they get their butts kicked, and then they come here and get their butts kicked. They leave the state of Arizona like, wow, that's a tough trip, because I feel that way going to Oregon State. So it's an important game. I think it's important for so many reasons. And it's funny, my first year, I didn't realize how important it was. I knew as a player how big it was, but I didn't realize till my first year coaching here. We were okay my first year, but we split with ASU, and like I got calls from like the president of the school, and I was just kind of like, wow, I did not think it was that big of a deal. It was like points for stuff, all that stuff went into it. I honestly didn't even understand that when I first started coaching here. I was like, wow. I realized, wow, this is a really big deal. So it became even more important.
So for the coaches around McKale Center, obviously all the eyes are on Kevin this weekend, or this Friday, excuse me, as he tries to win back the Territorial Cup. What about for the rest of the coaches? How much do people talk about the Territorial Cup and your individual sport along with football beating ASU?
They talk about it a lot. It's just a unique year. We're not in McKale, but that's what I said. Like my first year, we won the game. We split. No one thought we hadn't beat ASU in a while. I didn't realize how important it was until after that game. I mean, it wasn't like I talked to the president of school a lot. Like Bobby texts me more, but like when I first got here, when I was getting texts from like everybody, all the other coaches, the president, ADs, like I understood how big it was at that time. So it's big, and now I understand it's really that big for all those other reasons. So anytime, especially, I think it was bigger before because they were a better team. Now it's like we should win this game. And so last year, getting the sweep was very special. So obviously, I want to sweep again this year. If you can
Thank
sweep
you
for a
so
while.
much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Justin, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I'm assuming one thing that made the rivalry overseas in Turkey so special was that both teams were pretty good. Now that Arizona and ASU is pretty good, how much more fun does it make the rivalry?
Well, it makes it fun. I think probably not as fun for her now. It was probably more fun a couple of years ago, but but for me, it's a lot of fun now. I think it's just, I think you want a good game. I think it's good that we're both good for our conference, for everything, for other teams coming here. But I think people want to see a good game. You know, the sad thing for me is that we would have sold out McKale. So tomorrow we would have probably sold out McKale. And against UCLA, we would have sold out McKale. So I'm sad that the fans can't experience that with us, because this game, it was like the fans loved it so much. I love that for the city. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good game. I think we both play physical. We both are tough. We both have a lot of same characteristics in some ways. So that's what makes it exciting. And you just want a good basketball game. I think our conference is so competitive. You saw yesterday with the upset. You're going to see a lot of that. So people need to see good basketball, because we want people to stay excited and watch good basketball. So then in March, people can hopefully, knock on wood, come to games then. But we want to put good product on the floor. Both of us do.
And what's the most memorable experience you've had overseas playing basketball in a rivalry game?
Well, I didn't really understand, because we have rivals here, but I never had seen anything like I saw in Europe. Like, I was kind of like, wow. Like, I remember I went to a soccer game, and I had it was in Italy. I had the scarf of the other team just because I like the pink color. It wasn't because I really cared about the team, because I didn't, but I was told to take it off, walking through that. And it was when I first met Salva when we were dating. So, I had to take the scarf off, because you get the stuff thrown at you or kicked out of that area walking through the parking lot. And I was like, are you serious? And then overseas, there's been times where mopeds are thrown from the top of the stadium. So when I heard about that, I was like, that's at another level. I was scared to go to some games, and I went to a soccer game, that soccer game in Milan. It was crazy. I had never seen anything like that, because they don't have all the organization here with the NBA. So here we have the Jumbotron, we have all the cheerleaders, mascots, all that stuff. They don't have that. So it's the fans doing it. So the fans are having the chance, and they're standing. And then when I played professionally in Mersin, I played in Mersin, Turkey. Turkey, and I'd say Israel and Italy were the most passionate fans. I didn't feel that way in Russia, Ukraine, but in Turkey, if they were from that city, they bled that city. They love the sports in the city. It could have been field hockey, it could have been lacrosse, it could have been table tennis, whatever. They are cheering for you. So I remember at games in Turkey, they would spit at the opponents. They would be on the goal after the games. I remember playing an away game in Turkey, and they had to get the fans out because I got scared. They started throwing coins. I didn't want to get hit in the eye with the coin. So we were hiding behind stuff, and they had to clear all the fans out of the gym, and the police had to escort us out. And then we were scared on the bus. They were going to throw stuff at the bus. So it's a whole nother level, because you can just do stuff there you can't do here. It's pretty insane, but it's fun, because then it's they're coming up to you, kissing you. This is pre-corona. Fans would be kissing me, hugging me, after games. It was it was amazing. It was an experience that I will always remember, but scary at times, because I thought I was gonna get egged or something. But you can ask professional players. It's crazy overseas. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Adia, you were mentioning at the beginning about ASU's changes in their offense, and they've made a lot of personnel changes. Can you just talk about, they may be starting 3 freshmen in this game. Can you just talk about what you've seen out of them so far, and maybe your early observations on some of the freshmen?
Yeah, they're really talented. They have some freshmen, they have a freshman shooting post. They have a good point guard. They are doing some special things. I think they're just different, because you expect a certain style with ASU. And I think this year on film, I've watched that they've really mixed things up. And I think that's been good to see, but they have a lot more movement. But I think the primary parts of their offense, still doing a lot of actions off the elbow, still playing really tenacious defense. That stuff's kind of the same. So that's what we prepare for. But they're talented. I think they have a lot of injuries right now. So, she probably didn't want to play early in the year, which we don't want to play Pac-12 schools. I don't even in December, because we're going to be a lot different in January. But it kind of is what it is. I mean, for her, getting those freshman experience, this early, and she's played, I think, another game than we have, or 2 games. So I think it's just better. But yeah, it's going to be competitive, and we both are similar defensively. So it's going to be, hopefully it's not a super low scoring game, but it's going to be a good game.
Do you feel like you've got a big advantage just because of your experience with, your veteran players over some of their younger players?
Yeah, I think we do, but I think there's a couple things. I think our disadvantage is we don't have chemistry, and we have a lot of new people. So that's a disadvantage for us. I think advantage for experience, but I think sometimes when you're a freshman, you don't know what to expect, so you just go out and play, and you have no pressure. So I think in that sense they have an advantage, but I think overall we have an advantage because of our experience, and we're playing at home without a crowd though, so it's not a huge home court advantage.
And one more from me. Could you just comment a little on Tara being on the verge of setting this record?
Yes, so Tara, at first I thought you were talking about my player. Tara is she's phenomenal. I had to do a recording last week for her. Wait, can you guys hold on 1 second? I'm sorry. Sorry, I have a crying baby back there. And Elf's gonna go check on her. Okay. So I think just Tara, she's phenomenal. I think she's a pioneer in women's basketball. I love her because whenever I need something, whenever I have a question about scheduling or something about the conference or what's best for our team, I can call her because she's not gonna give an answer that benefits Stanford. She's gonna tell me what she thinks of the situation. So I just respect her so much. I think to be one of the winningest coaches in women's basketball is an amazing accomplishment that I'll never get. I just think that what I love about her, she's been able to sustain success. So hasn't only been good 1 year. She's been able to sustain it and stay at the top every year. And I think that's a really hard thing to do. I think it's easier to be good 1 year, but then the next year you fall off. I think it's really, really hard to be good year after year after year. And just compete at the highest level. I think she'll win another championship for sure before she retires. And I just love the way she does it. She's professional. She cares about women's basketball. She does things that benefit the best interest of the Pac-12. And she's an Olympic coach. She's done everything you can do for women's basketball. And I think she's a prime example of how to do it and what it should look like.
Herb, go ahead. Herb, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I thought you did that. Good morning. So the practices this week, how have they been different from the practices leading up to this past weekend? I mean, you clearly felt like you had a lot of stuff that you could go back and coach them up with. What's been that response?
Well, I think the difference is we were competing at a really high level, but the games exposed some of our glaring weaknesses. Some stuff that I thought were weaknesses, but in the game they were glaring. So I think it's just been it's enabled me to focus on a couple of areas of our weak points and also kind of emphasize our bright spots too. So starting off the game slow, a lot of times we'll start off practice a little slow. So I've been holding the team accountable for that. And just different ways to motivate them for specific things. That's my job to do. So you should see an improvement in certain areas. But I feel like the good things I took out of those games were we fight, we don't give up. We came from 11-point deficits. But I have to figure out the reason why are we getting into those holes? What are we doing or not doing initially where we're down by 11? And so fixing that, so we start off sharper, more intense, and figuring that out is really important. But I've seen character from my team. I've seen we don't give up, we fight, we don't care what the score is. When I looked in their eyes, they weren't like, oh, we're down 11. They were just like, okay. But why are we waiting to do that? And so those things. And I think that also getting my team to understand that we have a target on our back. So we're not we're the hunted, we're not, hunting. before we used to say, oh, we had no pressure going into Oregon, no pressure going to Oregon State because Oregon State should have won or Oregon should have won. Now it's vice versa. So you get everybody's best shot. And that's different because then that means teams play better. Like USC came in here and played with a lot of confidence. So we have to figure out how to, you have to figure out how to be good. Like that's what I say about the experience. Like when Tara, for example, her team knows because they've been there. They know what that's like to get everybody's best punch. We don't know what that's like because we've never been on this side. So us to be on this side now, and know what it's like to take everybody's best punch and still be able to compete at a high level, it's just uncharted territory. So we have to get better at that.
Well, one of the things that I noticed from Pat's in last season and the NIT run and everything, when you guys had some momentum going, there was never any taking your foot off the gas. The kids never backed off. They would, you were pressing. The defense would step right up after every play, no matter what the score was. And is that because they felt like they had something to prove, do you think? And this year they feel a little differently? What do you think?
No, I think it's just the different personnel. So I think that we don't have that chemistry yet. So bringing two people and 40% of your offense into a new starting lineup's a lot. So it's different if you have one person, bring him up. Last year we only had one person, that was Amari. So this year, two new people, it's like they don't really know our system. They don't know Mateo. They don't know, when to be there. They don't know exactly what Ari's doing in these situations just because they haven't played with her. So I think that just understanding that and just the chemistry. I think if we play 5 more games, we're going to look really different because you kind of know, they know what the Trinity a lot of times. Okay, think about our team. We really haven't had someone camps in the paint, it really wants the ball in the low post. And so what that means is that we had a lot of openings for drives. So now with sorry, my phone rang. Now with someone who wants to post up, that wants to take advantage of the mismatches, that sometimes the guards want to drive, but she's posting up. So just learning let her post up here, then get her out, or just different things like that. I think it's just different. And so in Dominique being here so much longer, she kind of knew where to pass the ball. She knew our offense. She had been here for 3 years. So it's just, and Trinity's only been here for a practice with us for a month and a half. So learning everybody, learning what to expect, learning what I want as a coach. We focus a lot more on defense here. Virginia Tech focuses more on offense. So it's different. Shane had been out. She hadn't played in 2 years. So she's a little rusty. So it's just it takes time. So I think that's why you see those upsets in the country. And you see, a lot of that stuff happening.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
PJ, go ahead.
Sure. So take us through a little bit, you sweep this weekend but obviously it's still early, you have things to work on and you've talked about those things. So Sunday night you look at film, and then Monday, I know the kids probably look at film, you show them certain things Monday, but for you as a coach, what do you go through to figure out the things that you just talked about? How do I get them to start off with that energy, or, get certain people in position, you said, to really succeed and get them going a little bit more, the Shaynas and Trinity in certain ways. And how do you sort of approach that? What does that look like for you and what you do on Sunday, Monday?
Well, it just looks different because there's so much to work on. I think that just simplifying things. So if you have 2 new players and there's a lot of information and we're not doing anything great right now, which we're not, right now, it's we're not running one offense that I love. So that tells me that I have to simplify things, which is fine. So I need to then focus on 1 or 2 things and just narrow their focus. And I'm okay with doing that because I think just a lot of people, it's really hard to be simple. So I think just going back to the basics and kind of maybe in practice stuff we use a shot clock more because we know we're really good at running. We know we've been successful at the game, so maybe we're not great at executing. So then it's my job to pick a couple things that we have to execute in practice. I thought defensively, our defensive identity has been very good. It has not been good in practice. So it's if we're not performing in the game, it's my fault. So then I say, okay, we're going to focus on being good at two things. And I think just simplifying it for players, they're young and there's a lot of information and there's finals, there's COVID, there's a lot of stressors. So finding a way to make things more simple where they're not kind of hesitant and thinking, that's my job to put them in better situations. So I take accountability in that. But I also have to find a combination or combinations that have good chemistry because Kate and Sam and Ari have been together a long time. So finding those other pieces, and there's a good thing about having a deep, team, but then it's also hard. It's hard because it's like there's a lot of people and a lot of different scenarios, which I usually have 13 non-conference games to work through. So I think it's just different in that sense. But so I talk to the team a lot about practices where you kind of prove yourself because you have to get, I think when you're a player, you have to give the coach a reason like that they can't live, something that they can't live without. So I remember when I was at Washington, there was this girl, Amina. She was a monster rebounder. She would get 10 boards a game no matter what. She's like 5'11", but that's what she did really well. So if you needed to rebound or you needed to be in games, you knew you had to play her, right? So I think give you something you can't live without or make you look like an idiot for not playing them. So I think that's what the players have to do because it's competitive. There's a lot of people in a lot of positions and it's not easy and we're a good team. But we're not playing great now, which I think everybody in the country is going through. But I have to figure out a way to get us kind of going. We're doing some great things, but we're doing them for half the game. I'd say probably we've had 15 minutes of good basketball in the games, maybe UCLA 20. So figuring out how to get that to 25, then to 30, then to 35, then to 40. So it takes time, and it's work in progress, trust me.
Ryan, go ahead.
So you added Idaho to your schedule. Are you done adding non-conference games? Or are you still on the lookout?
No, I'm on the lookout a little bit, but it just has to be the hard thing is it's Wednesday. It's hard for me to add a game for Sunday. So it's I thought about adding a couple teams and I don't want to go on the road for sure. Like some people need games on the road. At home it has to be the right situation and I would probably I don't know if I'm gonna add a game before the Colorado Utah trip just because we're in the middle of finals. And it's not really good timing. So if I add it, it'd be later. And I've been looking at the schedule, and I don't know where I'd add it. So I wanted a game 2 weeks ago. Don't know if I'll add one now because it's a tough time to add. I'd have to add it Monday or Tuesday. And then because of NCAA rules, I'd have to give a day off. So we'd only have like a day or two to prepare for another team. So it's kind of a hard situation. So probably not to answer your question.
Coach, I was going to ask you with scheduling, what's the biggest challenge in getting a team to agree to come to McKale?
The challenge before was that we're a pretty good team and we're going to have 10, 15,000. So no one wanted to come here. It was a nightmare because I do scheduling. It was a nightmare. Even from guarantee games, it was we couldn't get GCU down the street, even when they needed 7 games. We couldn't get any of the New Mexico schools, but possibly we're going to work on that next year. I talked to one of the administrators from one of the New Mexico schools. And so it's just hard. And then there's not a lot of other options. So geographically, we don't have the choice of 30 schools that can just drive here. So it's very, very difficult. And then what also hurt us is on the West Coast, all the stuff going on with California, they weren't able to travel. So we were going to almost get a game with a couple California schools, but then they got shut down. So they couldn't travel out of state. So it's a challenge, logistically, it's a challenge. It's expensive to come here. There's limited flights, so I think it's just challenging. So it costs more. I think it's probably the same thing in men's basketball. It costs more money and it's just, I think just more challenging overall. And the better you get, everybody wanted to play me when I first got here. So when I first got here, I could have filled a schedule in 2 days. But then as we got better and stuff, it took me so if you look at last year, it took me 8 months to fill the last game. I tried for 8 months. Like I'm gonna try it now. I'm already feeling for next year. It's a challenge. So.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, you guys. Hey, Justin, I didn't recognize you with your profile picture. That's pre-COVID era, right?
Yep.
I saw that. I was like, that's you. You clean up pretty well.
Yeah, I need to get a haircut soon.
Everybody does. You should see my son's hair. You saw Elf back there. His hair is crazy. All right, guys.
I think we should have a little feature with him on the Zoom calls.
Yeah, he would love that. He would show you Buzz like 500 times because I see Buzz 1,000 times a day. And then he would probably show you. Now he's into like the Elf on the Shelf. The Elf on the Shelf is amazing though. It's like works. It's like, oh, Elf's this thing. He's like, oh, you know.
Does Elf have a name?
Huh?
Does Elf have a name?
Yes, Alfonso. But it's Alfonso. So we thought that was the funniest thing. We're like, oh, Alfonso. So he just loves it. And Elf left him like the box to write letters to Santa. And Elf left him that elf costume just so he can listen better because Santa's going to want all his help. So Elf does a lot of things.
All right. So if we can work it out, maybe we can get him to comment on the game.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that he'll come home and he'll say, your players had a really tough time today. Mateo, come here. What did you say about last game to Mommy? Did you say the players really struggled? Mateo. He told me something like, the players really had a tough time or something. I was like, thanks, Mateo. Mateo. Okay, come here. What did you tell me about the game last time? Listen to this. What did you tell me about the game last time when you were watching it? What did you tell me?
Time?
Like last game you watched, you said the players really, you were watching the game. What was your observation of the game? Like, what did you think of the game?
I thought it was good.
But you thought it was good, but what?
What?
Did we win easily or was it hard?
It was hard.
What? It was hard. Were we playing good or bad?
Good.
We were playing good, even though it was a hard game.
Mm-hmm.
What were we doing bad?
Losing.
So did we end up winning?
Yes.
But why did we lose sometimes?
Because some other players are good.
And they're good, but are there any other players better than our players?
Yes.
Who was a great player last year that you really liked?
I don't know.
You liked someone from Oregon a lot. Who did you like from Oregon a lot?
I don't know.
Sabrina? Remember you liked Sabrina? Who was your favorite player on our team? Berna. Okay, Berna's not here anymore. Who's your favorite player on the roster? All of his favorites seem to leave. It's just, I think it's a curse when you're his favorite that you end up not being here. That's just by chance. Huh?
I think he could do a talk show for us. So let me know. I'll call his agent. Maybe we can get him to do a pregame show.
No, because he may say some things that I don't agree with. He may say something bad.
I love when he comes on the calls.
Well, it's like he waits for Zoom and then he has to walk by and get books and it's like.
That's awesome.
All right, you guys have a good day.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye.